Hello, and welcome to the MarkZDrumcast. How's everybody doing? I'm doing great. It's a very special day for me. It is my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Send your gifts and gift cards and all of the gifts to me today. Thank you all very much. So I've been working with some of my students lately, trying to solve an issue that they have, and hopefully by the end of this video, if you are familiar with this issue and have the same one, I will have shed some light on how to make things better, right? So the title of this Drumcast, by the way, welcome to the MarkZDrumcast. I am your host, Mark Zapata, owner and founder of MarkZDrums. I've been playing drums since I'm 7, and I've been teaching as MarkZDrums for the past 12 or so years. So that's a little background on me. For those of you joining me for the first time, thank you and welcome. I appreciate you coming down to say hello and to listen to what I have to say. Hopefully, you'll get something out of it. So getting back to the subject at hand, hopefully by the end of this video, you will have some stuff to take away with you that that will be helpful in your journey towards better fills, right? So the title, Help My Fills Stink. This is what I hear from a lot of my students. And every once in a while, I let my students choose their direction. And we'll be working on stuff for a while, and then maybe it's time to switch it up a little bit. And I asked them, well, what would you like to do better? What would you like to improve on? And a lot of times, if not most times, the answer is, I don't like the fills that I create. I want to make better fills. Okay, really, really cool. When I was young and I was probably a freshman in high school, I was taking lessons from, I believe he was a senior at the time, really great drummer in my school. And one of the things he said to me was that as our technical ability increases, so does our creativity, all right? So if you think about it, what can we create with what we have? The more materials we have, let's say you're building a house. You can't just build a house out of wood. You need glass for windows. You need roofing material for the roof. You need cement for the foundation. We need all different things. You need copper for the plumbing. Electrical wiring for the electrical. All different things you need to build a house, right? And the more materials we have, the more complete house we can build. I also like to refer to it to some of my younger students and even older students, because everybody loves a Lego set, was, hey, do you have Legos at home? Yes. Well, if you had one brick that was one color and one shape and one size, what could you build? Well, I could build a wall. Cool, let's build a wall. But if you had 100 different sizes, colors, shapes, and whatever, you could build the Death Star, you could build a castle, you could build a ship, you could build, right? So that's what I'm saying. As our as our technical ability increases, so does our creativity. The more we have to work with, the better we can create, the more we can create. And in the case of fills, yes, the more rhythms that we are familiar with and proficient at, the more things we could use to create our fills. So think about that. And I'm not necessarily talking about rudiments. I do believe in rudiments a lot. For younger players, for newer players starting out, what I would say about rudiments is that they are important, but really not something to drill at this point. I would say, in my experience and for me, start out with single strokes, double strokes, and paradiddles, or maybe even the entire paradiddle family, because that gives you a little bit more a few more options as far as the paradiddle pattern goes. But the rest of the rudiments can be explored and tackled over time. If you are looking to get into, let's say, marching band at school or drumline at school, or some kind of playing snare drum in the ensemble or something like that, then I would say yes, rudiments are more important, especially marching band, stuff like that. Rudimental drumming. Rudiments, very, very important. But when we're creating fills and when we're doing drum parts, a lot of times we're doing single stroke rolls. So what I would like to start off is by talking about the fact that we can take straight 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And we can take that, and by adding accents, dynamics, and using the different drums around the drum set, we can begin to create different kinds of fills, okay? For example, let's say we wanted to do 4 on the floor, right? 4 bass drums, 1 on each downbeat, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we wanted to do a fill consisting of 16th notes going around the drum set. Most of the time we'll start off like this. Now I added the bass drum for time on the 1, 2, 3, and 4, but on the snare drum, tom, tom, and tom, we're doing 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, okay? Pretty simple pattern going around the drum set. Again, only single stroke rolls, nothing really special about it, but it's definitely a passable fill, one that's used quite a bit. But now how would we expand upon that? Again, without changing the core rhythm, how do we expand upon that? Well, again, we have accents, we have dynamics, and we have many drums to choose from. So let's try something a little bit different. Okay, so a little more interesting. Same pattern, did not change what my hands are doing, but a little more interesting. I started to move in different patterns around the drum set. Now if we go high to low, that's one thing. Starting off with the snare, high, mid, low tom, back to the snare. That's one thing. 4 notes each drum, right? So each beat happening on one drum at a time. Then I decided to switch it up a little bit and spread the one beat out between the 2 drums. So the 1 E here on the snare, the and-a on the tom, and then the 2 E on the snare, the and-a on the other tom, and so on and so forth. So in now expanding this idea, we're taking the same hands and we are making them more interesting. Now, accents as well. If we accented the first note, or accented different parts of the 16th notes within each beat, something maybe like this. So there, I was able to accent certain notes, but in the accent, using different toms. So if I wanted to accent the first note of each 16th note section, then I would go ahead and use that accent on one of the toms. So we could write out a bunch of 16th notes, accent different parts, accent different notes within each beat, and then use those accents on different toms to guide us. And then we can start to maybe do something like this. So again, same thing, 1 E-ender, 2 E-ender, 3 E-ender, 4 E-ender. Now I'm using accents to move to different toms, accenting different parts of each beat, right? So there's just one simple way that we can start to improve how we create our fills. And then we can start to open our minds to say, wow, this is possible, that sounds pretty cool. I didn't know I could do this. What if I was to change the accents up and then land them on different drums or different cymbals or kick notes to accent those different accents on the 16ths. Here's another possibility. So we have straight 16ths, we have straight eighth notes, we have quarter notes, we have 32nd notes, all different kinds of notes that we can start to use in our fills as well. So real quick, I want to do 16th note on beat 1, 8th note beat 2, 8th note beat 3, 16th note beat 4. Sounds something like this. So now we're not just using 16th notes, we're using 8th notes as well. We could use 8th note, 16th note combinations. We could use quarter notes in there at a time, like let's say throwing a quarter note at the end. I like the quarter note at the end on the last beat because it leaves a lot of space and it's interesting because it's just kind of like an abrupt sudden stop where you think there should be more notes there during the fourth beat of a fill, but it just stops on the quarter note. So again, more possibilities using only single strokes, no rudiments, anything like that besides the single stroke roll. And now using quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and different things like that. You also have the possibility of triplets. Triplets, eighth note triplets, quarter note triplets, 16th note triplets, mixing and matching straight 16th notes with 16th note triplets, eighth note triplets with 16th notes, whatever the combination may be. See how we're starting to open up the possibilities of what we can do on our fills, for our fills. So think about that. Triplets into straight eighths. We're going to do an exercise that helps us to kind of work from one to the other. And the way it goes is you do quarter notes, eighth note triplets, 16th notes, 16th note triplets, 32nd notes in a row, in succession. You could choose how many bars of each. Let's do 2 bars of each. You want to start out slow because by the time we get to the 32nd notes, we're going to have to be playing a lot faster. So figure out what your top speed is and then start accordingly. All right, and this is also going to help in our fill creation because it's going to get us used to going between the triplet feel and the straight 16th note feel. Here we go. Okay, so there you have it. Quarter notes into eighth notes, into eighth note triplets, into 16th notes, into 16th note triplets, into 32nd notes. The better you get with those transitions, the more interesting fills that we can start to create. One of the threads that goes through all of this, as I'm telling you these different things to try, is exactly that. Try them. Play around with them. Mess around with them. Spend some time doing whatever. Just playing and messing around with ideas. Whether they sound good or not, it doesn't matter. Eventually you'll hit on something that you like, and maybe you'll develop that. You'll go in that path, in that direction, you'll develop that. Some of the stuff you may not like, okay, so I don't like the way that sounds, I'm not going to do that anymore, but I kind of like this kind of group of things that I was doing, I kind of like this. And you just keep playing, you keep experimenting. That's the whole fun of it, right? So there is the part of drumming where you're reading out of books and you're reading sheet music and you're playing along, or you're learning songs that you're playing in your cover band or whatever the case may be. We've gone over all of that in earlier episodes of the Drumcast. But then there's the part of drumming that's just total creativity. That's totally you being in the zone, just playing whatever you feel like playing. But again, the more tools you have to choose from, the more creative you can be. So when you're trying these different ideas, start to learn the triplets, the straight 16ths, and all the different things you can do. 16th note combinations, 8th notes and 16th notes in combination in a single beat. In other words, where maybe you take 16th notes, 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda, and maybe you stick an 8th note in the 2 position of the 1. So that 8th note is going to take up the E and the and of beat 1. So that sounds like... Or putting the 8th note at the and position of the 1. So we have 1 E and. There is no because the 8th note is extending through the into the next beat. Something like that. There's so many things we can do with single strokes to create fills. Learn your different rhythms. Learn how to play straight 16ths. Learn how to rest certain 16th notes. Learn those patterns. Combinations of 8th notes and 16th notes, in other words. Learn your triplets, 16th and 8th note triplets. Learn your quarter note triplets. Learn how to put them together. Learn how to string them together, right? All of this single stroke rolls, and like I said, using accents, using dynamics, and using your different drums. So for example, if we were to go from 16th notes to 18th note triplet, 16th notes to 8th note triplets to 16th note triplets, let's say, in a fill situation, let me see, how would that go? 16th notes. So just a couple of different examples of going from a 16th straight 16th note pattern to a 16th note triplet, 16th note triplet, 8th note triplet, or any combination. Straight 16th, 8th note triplet, 16th note triplet, 16th note triplet, something like that, where we're playing all kinds of different notes and different patterns and different rhythms. So look into that kind of stuff. Sit down on your drums, play around, and have a lot of fun. I think in future shows, we might get into how we do paradiddles around the drum set. But to get started, to get to kind of break the ice on some of these ideas and start the ball rolling into expanding our fills. Because remember, fills are important, but they're not everything. Fills are there to make our drumming more interesting and to herald the change of a song. Maybe we're playing a verse and we're about to go into the chorus, and we throw a fill in there to kind of signal to the rest of the band and the listener, hey, we're changing parts of the song. Now we're going into the chorus. Now we're going into the solo. Now we're going into the bridge or the outro, whatever the transition is. Fills are there to herald that transition, and also, like I said, to make our drumming more interesting. Now, knowing what fills to play and how long to play our fills is another question also that can go into how we create fills and how diverse we are in creating our fills. At first, we learned to play a 4-beat fill, like I did earlier in the show. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a boom, and that's it. Other times, as we start to get more familiar, we may do a 2-beat fill on beats 3 and 4. We might do a 1-beat fill on beat 4. We might do a half a beat fill on the and of 4. Just knowing when we're going to start our fill, when we're going to end our fill, and where we're coming back to the beat, all important stuff. But again, more ability to expand what we're doing with our fills by changing the lengths. I'll give you an example of a very short fill, one that is widely used and fun to play, but very, very short. This is going to occur on the and of 4. All right, here we go. The and of 4. That's it, right? So we can have very short fills. We can have 4-beat fills. We can have 8-beat fills, you know. It all depends, right? And creatively, we need to think about what serves the music best. So sometimes longer is not better. Sometimes a short little fill in the right spot really just punctuates what you're trying to do. So we just had a half a beat fill on the and of 4. Let's try something on the 3 and the 4. At first, I did 16th notes, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, and then I did a 3 E and, 4 E and fill, adding the 8th note to the and of 3 and 4, okay? So again, length is important, right? So let me give you another example of a 4-beat fill using 1 E and, 2 E and then straight 16ths for the 3 and the 4 beat. So there you go, 1 E and, 2 E and, 3 E and, a 4 E and. So many great things we can do with fills, but the important thing is to get started and to start to add different tools, right? Start to add different building blocks to our arsenal or our toolbox of ideas. Once we start to do that, then we can start executing and we can start messing around and having real fun going through and figuring out where I can fit and use all of these different things that I've learned. So whether you are working with an instructor, a teacher, or you are checking things out on YouTube, there's a lot of great resources out there. I'm working on a drumming course right now that you will be able to have access to pretty soon in the near future, where we get into all of this stuff. But again, the basics, the idea of what I wanted to talk about today is just to add to your knowledge base, add to your toolbox, to your arsenal, whatever you want to call it. Add all different ideas to where you're drawing from. All right. So the more you have to draw from, the more creative you can be. Don't forget to use your cymbals. Don't forget to use your bass drum, your hi-hat, rims, whatever it is, right? It's all fair game, and that can really, really help to make your drumming more interesting. But again, interesting for us, right? Interesting and fun for us to play. Sure, if other people find it interesting, that's fantastic. But it's really about having fun playing. It's about pushing our boundaries and our limits, challenging ourselves, right? And just continually trying to get better and to add to what we can do. So if you're feeling a little bit underwhelmed with your own fills, if you're feeling unhappy or limited in what you can do with your fills, what you can come up with, if you feel like you're playing the same fills over and over again, think about what I've said here today. And if you got anything out of it, if you liked what I had to say here, hit the like button. Go over to my channel, check out my instructional videos that I have on MarkZDrums on YouTube. Watch my other Drumcasts, which is a pretty new thing that I'm doing here, which I'm really having fun with. And I'm able to just express and share my experience and knowledge with people who want to listen. Go over to my Patreon, go over to my TikTok. Across all platforms, MarkZDrums. Go to my website, MarkZDrums.com. It's all coming together now. It's all in development. But go around, check around. See what you have to see. And leave me feedback, comments, likes, follows, whatever you can do. Whatever kind of support you can give is well appreciated. Sure, go ahead, ask me questions in the comment section. If you're not sure, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free. I'm always open to feedback, and I'm always open to helping people by answering questions. So that's all I have for today. Happy birthday to me. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for watching my video, and I will catch you next time.